So what we want to do here a little bit is bridge this kind of question of privacy, and then take it into, I think, some of the fundamental human questions that keep coming up here, right? We're talking here about building this coordination system, this registry, this index for agents, and how agents can talk to each other and learn about each other and discover and so forth. Well, you know, to Shaw is a very valid question. Like, what are we actually doing here? Like we are doing something for humans, presumably, right? This is not just for agents themselves. And I felt like when I went in today and did my agent search, and I was having a conversation with somebody I know who had an agent. I was talking to the agent. The agent's like, no, you're not talking to this friend. You're talking to me. And that just got confusing in my mind, right? Because was I the agent? Was I the human? And these things are still being resolved, to Shaw's point. But putting that aside, you know, you guys in particular, and you know, Oort's looking at data and how do we protect data, and you know, if we come at this from the Web 2 problem perspective, which is, Braxton, I know you've been deeply involved. I mean, you know, disclosure, Braxton and I have involved together in some aspects of Project Liberty. I wrote a book about this sort of stuff. This is this huge problem that we've already had well before this, you know, generative AI phase, where, you know, our data has been used and manipulated and turned against us by algorithms in the pre-generative AI phase. And we all know, you know, what happened out of that and where we're at. So making sure that we get the structures in place so that human beings are protected in this environment are critical. And I want to, again, bring this back to the question of the registry and the Web3 quilts. Like, how do we think about what we're building in terms of these agent interfaces and agent coordination networks from the perspective of the humans underneath that, right? So I want to just have a very open discussion about that, if we can. And you've all got like different takes on that. But maybe, Braxton, I'll go to you first. And you know, how are you thinking about? Because I know you've got a submission as well for the quilt. So yeah.
It's on. Okay.
Yep.
Sure. I think that like you said, we've been thinking about this for a long time from the perspective of earlier evolutions of kind of networking developments, Web 2 being the most recent. And you know, when you look at the intersections of capitalism and networks, we've had very mixed results as a species, right? A lot of things have not, people would agree, a lot of aspects have not worked out, and surveillance economics is one of those unfortunate outcomes. And so I think right now we've been working for a long time on leveraging some of these decentralized DLT technologies for shared state layers to work in concert with federated and peer-to-peer systems for humans to connect outside of platforms. We think it's unfortunate that humans were connected through a kind of private platform layer on the internet. I think that now with this emergence of AI, if you look at the massive impact on online advertising, you know, business models are being destroyed right in front of us at a faster pace than I've ever seen. But that creates the opportunity to say, can we now reinsert kind of this notion of humans connecting in a decentralized fashion, and then of course have centralized and other technologies available, but those should ideally be more tools and less networks. The networks, you know, we all contribute to those, so ideally that would not be centralized the way it has been to date.
Can we talk a little bit about the first-person protocol project here? Because, Andor, that gets us right down to that base layer. Like, this is, I mean, I think, you know, DSMP that you worked on for a long time, Decentralized Social Networking Protocols, is permissioning, please, controlling your data, who you distribute it to, who gets to use it, and so forth. But underneath that, we've got to, okay, how do I prove I'm a human? We've been talking about deepfakes a little earlier on. How does this feed into the agent structure?
Yeah, so there's a great project that's happening right now in the open communities. It's jointly collaborated with a number of organizations, including the Linux Foundation, Trust for IP, Decentralized Identity Foundation. It's called the First Person Project. So a big question is, how do you prove you're a human? In this process of saying we need human flows, I think there's kind of three flows for agents to humans. One is a delegatory flow, so you delegate an agent to do something on your behalf. Another one's a human in the loop flow, so you might have a human approve a process, and the third flow, I think, is a null flow, which is saying, am I dealing with a human or an agent? And in all those cases, we want a method that is decentralized and private to be able to maintain, essentially, our proof of humanity. And so the First Person Project brings a decentralized trust graph approach. So the idea is that we can actually bring private decentralized graphs and chains to each other without necessarily requiring a blockchain at all. And it's portable, and so you can bring it across different communities. So this is a super powerful way to prove not only humanity, but the connections and communities that you have. And that will be used, and you can use it in your agents. Your agents can use that decentralized trust graph across different contexts. So I think that's going to be super important as we develop human solutions around human solutions that require privacy in particular.
Cool. And Sean, tell us a bit about Oort and what you're doing about managing data.
Yeah, so Oort is essentially like we're building an infra for providing like high quality AI data for the AI community. So think about when we're talking about AI agent, we mimic the AI agent as like a virtual human agent. But right now the problem is all the agents are short of data. Like I think for developers here, when you build an AI agent, most of you are leveraging on the large language models, or you are leveraging on the OpenAI, leveraging on different. But all those data actually they are training. Like those base models are trained from Wikipedia and all the open data available on the internet, right? But if we really want to achieve decentralization and really want to, there's no monopoly of the agents that we are doing, right? So everybody has to develop an agent which is like a personalizable as different kind of characteristics, right? So that's the way we try. The Oort is developed. Oort is providing like a high quality AI data, which like a fuel for the next industry revolution, so that any developer can come to our platform and launch your data collection task, and we are going to provide like a high quality AI data as you requested. So we also for it's kind of open protocol, which we can have a lot of like open verification platform be involved, so that the data can go through our different partners and doing verification. And so there's a lot of like a Web3 concept being involved, like proof of staking, so that you stake. We work with eigenlayers so that you can actually put a stake and work as like a validation, so that it's like decentralized validation platform to provide like a high quality and trustable data to the builders, AI agent builders.
Okay, so we're talking about the quality of the data. The quality of the data can also just be the security of it, right? I mean, that it's not being sort of...
Yeah, I would say, so AI data, if we're talking about the infrastructure, right, there's majorly like two parties. One is the AI storage, like data storage for AI data. One is AI compute, the computing module which do the processing of the data and the verification of the data. So the storage is less challenging because, because the data is private, right? We are not talking about open data, like shared to anybody. Like if you collect your data, you store like AI data. We are decentralized. We have a decentralized network to store data. It's very reliable. The security is less challenging because it's private. But if you're talking about like open verification of the data, you have to, if you collect a data set which has like, for example, 10,000 image, now you have to ask your community to verify data and pick maybe 30% of high quality data, because a lot of maybe like just junk data. So this problem is in the Web 2 era, it's been done by like they hire like very cheap laborers from Africa or Southeast Asia to do these things, right? But we are building like an open protocol so that everybody can join as a validator. But now how they are able to validate your data, but you are not release like the whole data set to other people, right? So if you release other data set, it's going to be very challenging.
Andor, as if ultimately it's this question that we came back to in the previous panels, was like quality of data is in some respects the question, is it human, right? Or is it truly just sort of resolved down to something real that is connected to a human? How do you feel about that from the point of view of the FPP project?
I think that there's going to be a number of, until you can verify in some cases the derivative basically of the humanity between the data points, it's very difficult. Agents aren't liable. You can't sue an agent. And so I think from the perspective of even being able to, I You can't directly, at least in.
We use this opportunity to point out that we've got Kaleo Place, who's the AI rep for the government of Bermuda, and Bermuda's exploring the idea of creating a domicile in Bermuda for AI agents in recognizing their personhood as corporate entities. But
at least in the work,
lawyers are going to get into this, right?
Yeah,
so let's not bring the lawyers into the room right now. That's for another.
We can have a chat.
In any case, carry on.
But anyways, if you can't ensure the integrity of the source and you can't actually bind it to a legal operator, it becomes very difficult to do valuable flows. And so that case, organizations and humans in the loop is incredibly important as sort of the primary attribute that begins with that data point. So I'd argue that is a critical attribute of any sort of value flow that you'll need eventually.
Yep. I'll give the last word to Lisa because I'm running tight on time. We're going to have to.
I just wanted to say that there's a perception sometimes that agents are getting close to real consciousness or artificial intelligence, and I think there's a huge gap, really, still. What the agents can do and what humans can do, it's not very close yet. But the final comment I wanted to say is that humans are the point and the biggest obstacle, because if we want to protect them, we have to have privacy. But humans are the people who sabotage their privacy the most often for the sake of convenience.
Dylan, quickly, yep, thanks.
And really quickly, this is the field of known as protected entry. And so for anybody dabbling with, like, say, you can think of cryptographic CAPTCHAs. If you were to somehow generate manifolds that could confuse information or diffuse information, then you would want to be able to verify information from a point, and that point would be human. So this is human auth. So beyond biometrics or beyond 2FA and MFA and passkeys, then you're going to still have to manage this data somewhere in like a black box. And then, all of these confidential containers are still going to need to be decentralized in some way. And that starts with the KMS. So we've done a lot of work to try to decentralize the hardware root of trust. And so that way other providers can agentically create their own framework, like DStack frameworks for an agent. And then you should be able to authenticate with any kind of delta, whether it be eyes, nose, ears, or information. There are digital ways of generating manifolds.
Yeah. All right, listen, we are tight in time, so I just want to quickly, you guys, all 5 of you actually have to leave, and Lindsay Stone from Yuma, Jonathan Victor from Filecoin, and Christian. The last 3 guys, if you could come out.